October 31st, 1994. American Eagle passenger flight 4184 departs Indianapolis en route to O'Hare International Airport in Chicago. Minutes later, it's scattered over a nearby countryside. The captain, first officer, 2 flight attendants, and all 64 passengers are killed. What happened to American Eagle Flight 4184 that day? Well, clues to the answer were discovered in the aircraft's black box.
So what is this black box we're always hearing about in the news? And why does it seem to hold so many answers? Well, let me start off by saying there's no such thing as a black box. There are actually 2 boxes, and they're located here in the tail section of the aircraft. And as you can see, they're not black either. The bright coloring and reflective tape make them easier to find, especially underwater. In fact, they're equipped with an underwater locator beacon. It gives off a high-pitched pinging sound when it comes into contact with water. This sound is detectable up to 4 kilometers away for 30 days at depths of up to 6,000 meters. Now, the reason they're mounted back here in the tail section is because this is the part of the plane that usually stays intact after a crash.
Of course, that isn't always the case. Sometimes there is nothing much left. So to ensure they stay intact, these 2 boxes have been equipped with a couple of protective features. Their outer covering is made of impact-resistant titanium. The boxes are also insulated with asbestos and can withstand a 2,000-degree jet fuel fire for up to 30 minutes.
Titanium covering, asbestos insulation, locator beacons. A lot of trouble's gone into making sure these boxes survive a crash, and a lot of trouble's gone into making sure they can be found after the fact. So why so much trouble? What's in these boxes that's so important? The thing everyone is so intent on protecting is this. It's a tape, but not just any tape. You see, this tape is special because in many cases, it's the only surviving witness to a crash. You see, these 2 boxes are essentially the eyes and ears of the aircraft. Let's start with the ears, and that would be this smaller box here. It's the CVR, or Cockpit Voice Recorder. And it does exactly what its name implies. It records just about all the sounds in the cockpit. Conversations between the captain, first officer, and air traffic control. Announcements made by the flight attendant on the public address system.
1244, now departing for Windsor.
Even the hum of the engines. An electrical system. All this audio is recorded onto the spool of magnetic tape inside the cockpit voice recorder. The tape can hold up to 30 minutes of material. After 30 minutes, the audio is recorded over. It's an endless loop. The tape in this larger box here is also an endless loop, but its capacity is 25 hours. That's because it has to record a vast amount of data. This is the FDR, or Flight Data Recorder, the eyes of the aircraft. The Flight Data Recorder is referred to as the eyes of the aircraft because it's always watching what the aircraft is doing. You see, the aircraft is lined with a network of sensors. These sensors measure airspeed, altitude, engine power, and 20 other parameters. The sensors continually feed the measurements to the gauges in the cockpit. But the information is also fed to the Flight Data Recorder, where it's recorded onto the magnetic tape inside the unit. So what happens to all this data and voice information? Well, it's most often used as a diagnostic rather than disaster tool. Maintenance staff regularly download the information into a computer. The computer allows them to chart exactly what the aircraft was doing during its flight. This analysis is an important piece of preventative maintenance, as it allows technicians an opportunity to spot problems with the aircraft before they can become disastrous.
But
unfortunately, disasters do happen, like the one involving American Eagle Flight 4148. And that's when the flight data and cockpit voice recorders take on a much higher profile. Investigators managed to recover Flight 4184's flight recorders. After analyzing the data, they were able to determine the probable cause of the accident. Flight 4184 was flying on autopilot in a freezing drizzle while in a holding pattern at an altitude of about 8,000 feet southeast of Chicago. The cockpit crew was unaware that a ridge of ice was building on the wings. As they made their descent, the ridge of ice, probably no more than a half-inch thick, caused the plane's maneuvering flaps to disengage. This sent the plane into an uncontrolled roll. The crew struggled to regain control, but their attempt was unsuccessful as the plane again lurched to the right, rolling over completely before plunging into the ground below. Flight data and cockpit voice recorders are two of the most important pieces of safety equipment on an aircraft. It's true they don't actually prevent accidents, but without the information they provide, we would never have known what happened to American Eagle Flight 4184, which would make it virtually impossible to prevent a similar tragedy from happening again.